Welcome back everyone, this is Mark Sajan again, and this will be a very long video about creating a full head retopology from scratch with ZBrush with some settings. So if we just take a look, this is how it goes. So we have a nice basic flow of retopology, creating the eyes, walking through and creating the mouth part. Then we are actually building up the mouth cavity. Let me go to click solo and see as we are going on. So we are progressing, creating the further parts, and then just finalizing the session. So now here it is. Let me just show this. So and then we are sculpting the interior part. We are also creating the eye sockets. So the eyes are there, the nose, and including the ears. Okay, and the last part of the video will be a little bit speed up on how to complete the rest of the head and the neck. But in general, this is how it goes. And as you see, we have some different features we can use, and we'll create a custom menu for it. So the menu is basically this one. Okay, so that will be the whole thing, and we will start with ZRemesher, how to use ZRemesher in order to have an advantage and have some of the basic parts pretty fast in your hand. For example, some parts that you don't want to manually retopologize, but for the face, usually there's no way going around. Alright, so have fun, check the chapters because it's a long video, and if you're going along, have fun, and thank you for your time. Now let's start. Hello everyone, Mark Sajan again, and today we will discuss how to do retopologizing in ZBrush. The principles are same in every software. We will check how to set up the application here and some custom tools and other stuffs, but in general the principles are the same. If you don't know what retopologizing is, or you don't have enough information right away, and not just looking for how to use it in ZBrush, then please take a look at some retopology keywords. So this is Google Retopology, nothing special in here, and this will give you quite a good glimpse on how to think of it. Especially something like this as an image. It shows the basic principles of retopology. So you have spiderweb like circular patterns around the eyes. Two of them will create a patch, and that is connected through the nose bridge. There's another circular pattern around the mouth, and this should, let me just look at here. So as you see, the polygons are going and turning around the mouth, and the same thing is happening around the eye. Okay, so that is one really important part of the whole retopology. The other thing is retopology, we often talk about edge flow. Edge flow is usually follows the natural deformation directions of skin or anatomical things. So if you want to make it better, this is not just 3D random stuff. Let me just open up another one and tell that facial anatomy and see what we have in the muscles images. Some silly images, but basically this one is, I think it's fairly decent. So let me just open image in a new tab and see it. So as you see, these muscles are circular themselves. These are also circular themselves, and we have some tensions going, but these arrows showing the tensions on the polygons as well. So this is how it works. When we see an image like this, these polygons can compress easily when the figure is smiling. The eyes can shrink easily when the eyes are closed. The same thing is happening around the neck anatomy, so you have to follow the anatomy of the neck. Okay, but these are just basic keywords. You can check neck anatomy and other things. Look for directions. Now, what else should we use? Another keyword that's really beneficial to use is polygon flow. You can also use Pinterest for this purpose. This is also shows nicely, again, the The principles are the same in every software. Topology is usually based on anatomy and based on deformations of an animated figure. These polygon regions are representing how the main areas are should be distributed, but it's sometimes it's artist preference, but the basic is we have a kind of a patch around the eyes, then around the mouth, and everything else is coming afterwards. Now, if you want to look for a full figure reference on getting an idea how to build up a full figure, this is the 3D Scan Store, and there is a female Retopology kit. I'm not suggesting you to buy it. It's just, here we have a couple images we can use. So if you are curious around how to deal with the polygons you have, you don't have to go overboard. As you see, this is a real human with a lot of details, millions of polygons, but the origin is still a kind of a cylinder that's wrapped around the body, and where we have to have details is around the hands and usually around the face. Okay, so please make a note on the polygon size. The smallest polygon size are usually around the eye and the mouth and nose. So this is a little bit of a higher resolution. As you see, the less polygon you have, the easier the workflow will be. Okay, let me show you something. This is the a simple Glomon workshop video tutorial introduction. So again, I'm not telling you to do this or that. Just look around and it will show some good examples. So here's the figure when it's rendered or when it has higher resolution. This is the figure what we are using in the 3D viewport. This is why you have to have Retopology to have a lower amount of polygons in the viewport to make it snappy, make it easy to animate, make it less work skinning, less work UV. Okay, so that's how it goes. And if I'm playing this, let me turn this off, the sound. So if I'm playing this, as you see, because the polygons are stretching too much, you have to have a clean retopology, and this is basically what every polygon or retopology lesson will teach to you, is just look the resources, get an anatomy book and deal with it. These are the controls that you can use. For example, in this situation, you can do this with bones, you can do this with anything. The whole purpose is to represent it how stretchy it should be. Please look at the area of the neck topology. Okay, so this is running in the direction of the main shape, and as you see, there's not crazy amount of polygons. It's not about density, it is about how good your polygon setup is, and this allows you a lot of control and a lot of tweaks with less amount of work. Okay, so that is the purpose. Now, and it doesn't matter how detailed your figure is, at the end of the day, what you want to animate is a low resolution mesh, and we are using displacement map and normal maps to cheat and get the high resolution stuff. Okay, so now let's going back to ZBrush and see what it is all about. So the first thing is I will use the female project for this, and let me just start it. And thank you for including this in ZBrush. Now this figure is, if I'm pressing Shift F, I can see this is a high resolution model. Now when you have a sculpted model and you want to do retopologizing, what you have to know that retopologizing takes effort and it will slow down if you have a complex mesh. So the first thing is to help the software to detect the faces easier. And it's true for every application. You can use a decimation or something similar to decimation. So let me just open this up and use a smaller brush size. And this is the brush palette, and we are dealing with the Z plugin palette. So let me drag and drop this Z plugin palette. And right away we'll do customizations as well. Okay, so the customization is like we should use some buttons frequently, and these buttons will be saved in order to help your topology workflow. Okay, so let me turn on config and enable customize, and as usual, enable customize itself. The button is going out, and because we want to create a new menu, not just creating a custom user interface, this will be a separate menu. I will just go into preferences and custom UI and create new custom UI, and that will be Retopo. Okay, so Retopo. Now, Retopo appears here at the top, but as soon as you just changing things up and resizing, for example, Retopo will be gone here, and in alphabetical order, it will represent itself in the top area. Okay, so let me just close this one and open Retopo as is. It's an empty menu, so nothing here yet, but soon we will just fill it in. So Decimation master is basically an optimization method that triangulates the surface and using automated methods to create the triangles. And where we have details, we have smaller triangles. Where we have less details, the surface is not as complicated, there will be less bigger sized triangles. So the first thing is preprocessed current. That will read the active subtool and it will load it into memory. I will pause it. So it was 35 minutes in my seconds in my case, excuse me. Depending on your computer, I have a running record and a few things in the background. So this is it's not the fastest for now, but this is a pre-process. That means we have a file now, and that file could be used. So the default setting is 20%. I will go a little bit lower, maybe 10%, and that will end up in a smaller polygon size. This is 1 million, so 10% should be about 100K. So let me decimate current, and this is when the file is read back and calculated the polygon. This is the actual model, and as you see, as I promised, where things are less interesting and just simply flat, we have larger size of triangles. Where we have intricate details around the corner of the nose, for example, around the lips, around the corner of the eye, ears, usually we have smaller sized polygons or triangles. Okay, so that helps. This one really helps to reduce the amount of stress that the software needs to deal with. So these three buttons are pretty useful, and for this reason, let me open up the Retopo and just going to Z plugin and Ctrl+Alt, preprocess current. This is the first thing that we want to use. Preprocess current, and again just the decimation percentage. So drag and drop. And the last thing is decimate current. Okay, so this is kind of a first step that you want to use, and I will put it in order just to make it work. Okay, so now we have a custom menu, and you can use this menu, you can dock it, and we will assign a hotkey for this as well. So if we are going up, where are you, Retopo? So here we are now. This is a part of the system. Okay, so let us move on with the whole thing. Once we are done with this, we will just, in general, we can create a automated ZRemesher. The reason I'm telling you this, because in some situations you can use a ZRemesher Retopo because it can speed up the process a lot. For a head, it won't work. For some other parts, it may not work. It's not really good around the hips. You have to do some manual work, but still, in some situations, it can speed up the things a lot. So for this reason, I will share and create a couple things around. So first of all, what we do need is we need a slice tool, and I will duplicate it right away. So just duplicate this figure and just simply rename it to decimated, and selecting this one, and this will be ZRemesh test. Okay, so ZRemesh test, just to see how many polygons we can deal with, how we can simplify it, how to gain some advantage by using ZRemesher if we can. Okay, so the tool we are using is the slice tool. Where are you, slice tool? Slice curve, which one is just a super duper thing. So slice curve, Shift F, and symmetry is on. However, slice curve will not really taking care of symmetry just because it's running cross symmetry. So Ctrl Shift, and I'm dragging and pressing Alt slightly and just releasing Alt and making it turn. So I'm cutting up the auxiliary parts, and as you see, this is what happens. So we have a polygon group here. Let me just isolate this and Ctrl W and add, yeah. So even if I have symmetry on, it will not make the work. We will use a modify topology mirror and weld function, but right now this is okay. So let me just do the same thing with the legs. Here's a little trick that you can use. If you press Shift M, you can use magnifier. Here's the polyframe. You can turn off the line, and now you see only the colors. Okay, so that is a little bit of a help if you have dense meshes. What else should we do? Control and Shift, and just cutting through here and create a relatively simple cut for the legs as well. Let me check this. And as you see, because I was not paying attention to this, this is how it cut. The problem is the rest is not working well. So let me turn off perspective and start it somewhere here, going up here, and tap, tap, double tap will allow you to cut a little bit more sharp. And just cutting through here, and let me see if it goes better. All right, that's it. Okay, so this is one. Let me isolate and add a different color just to have a little bit better view. Okay, so that is one angle. What else? We want to cut off the legs as well, so let me just cut through here and maybe a little bit of more angle. So there we are, and that's it. The toes are a little bit tricky. If you can avoid having toes, that's really good. We can just separate it, and then the rest of the figure will not disturb you that much. And we can cut off the toes with a slice. It may not be that easy right away, so but I will use Alt to somewhat connect the dots and make sure that we are not going through all the parts. Let me see it. So here, this was not okay. This was not okay. I have to take care of that. Undo and start from here. And just make sure that we are not touching on the insides. And I will take care of this, avoiding that. All right, and these are separated, and this will be another one. So let me just start in here and double tap and going Alt and cut through here. Okay, so that's another group. Perfect. If we want, we can actually make them single one, but that's it. So let me get back everything. We will do something similar with the fingers around here. So let me isolate this guy. And when you're cutting the wrist with these polygroups, the ZRemesher will actually work better. This is why we're doing it. So if you just cut through here, it won't make it because it's an angled cut. So you have to go into perspective and look around. I mean, not turning on perspective, but in the 3D free view mode. And just simply dragging from the right angle and watch before you move forward. Okay, so watch before you move forward, rotate it around, inspect what you have done. Same thing is happening here. We can cut the thumb. I'm afraid it won't. We have to switch to a different angle. Okay, so let me go through here and double tap. Okay, undo. And double tap and just make it a little bit better. And space bar. I'm holding them Ctrl Shift and space, and then I can move it around. So that's it. Isolating the hands. Okay, just the hands. And now we can cut off the fingers. And as you see, there's a decent gap. So when you are modeling, do yourself a favor and make it light. Add some air between the parts because it will just crunch you in other works, no matter what process you're doing. And I was not satisfied with the last finger. Can you see how this is snapping? So in theory, if you press Alt, it's snapping by default to a point, but when you are pressing Alt and moving over, it will recognize that the location where you pressed Alt is somewhere else. So if I'm pressing hold here, look at my crosshair cursor, and I'm pressing this and I'm moving over, it will go back. All right, so you don't have to worry with that one. Okay, so let me just remove it. I don't like this color. Ctrl+W. It's just blending too much with the rest. Maybe this one, yeah, slightly better. Okay, moving on here around the head, we will cut the head and just around the neck, so make it single, again perpendicular to the main axis of the neck. So there we are. Good. We can do furthermore, but in general we will manually do the head anyways. This is a really long neck according to the figure, but it's believable when you see the whole. But if you're close up, it's just strangely long. But if you see the whole figure, it looks fine. Okay, so that is the decimated part. We want to the sliced part, and we want to make it symmetrical. So modify topology and mirror in the Weld, and there we go. Again, always work on the right side. Always work on the right side of ZBrush. There we go. Excuse me for the little song, but there we are. Now let me turn back on the line mode and enable ZRemesher. In look at here. So we definitely want to keep groups. We definitely want to make a lower poly count. I will set it to 2, not because I want 2000 polygons. I just want to enforce it to make it a little bit smaller in size. And don't forget, you have to have symmetry turned on, so double check that as well. Now let me hit ZRemesher and wait for it. Okay, so this is what ZRemesher had done, and I'm just curious about the polygon size. This is about 6000 polygons, which one is pretty neat. Few things to consider. Actually, this one is not that bad at all. We have the breasts are, according to the model, the breasts are a little bit modeled off. I mean, they are modeled for a nude figure and not for a clothed figure. So if you know that, the shape should look a little bit different. The neck area is looking okay. Some of the main chest area is looking okay. So this is a great reference for density. The fingers, if you take a look, the fingers resolution is not that the highest. So this is definitely not the perfect solution. We have to use a little bit of higher resolution to get a better one. So this was with the setting of 2, and I will just redo it with a different setting. And just to have this saved, I will duplicate it, rename it first to ZRemesh, and with 2, set 2, and duplicate. And please look at the timeline, and I'm pressing Ctrl+Shift+D, and the timeline is dropping back. So what does it mean? It has no basically history. So for this reason, I will move it up and rename this new one and rename it to 3. And this one has history and this one doesn't. Okay, so I will just keep it as a thing, but with this one I can go back before I made the ZRemesher, so now it works pretty well. This is just a trick you can do. You can use it or not, but it can help sometimes too. So just keep in mind that when you are duplicating, you are not duplicating the history itself, but the original model has the history, so it makes a difference between the two of the models, the subtools you have. Okay, so let me turn off the visibility for now, and this one, and just use the ZRemesher with a different setting, and having with 3, so that was 6000. So let me go up back. Okay, so this is the new version with poly count 3, and I just emphasize how much it is, how the importance of having different values and adjustment and see how they are working. So the lag is actually not bad. We have some crunches here and there. Obviously, it cannot really deal with this. The big toe, it looks fine. Maybe the resolution is off, but we can add an edge here and there. But others are not working properly because these things are tiny. The toe looks fine, and the back looks fine as well. And as I see, I made some mistakes around the cutting, but that will work just as well. Let me see the hands, if the hands are any better. And I think the hands are better with this one. We can increase the resolution, inserting further polygons, but that's it. Originally, the figure itself had very, very thin fingers. So that was an issue. And here we have a density issue. We can do this with ZRemesher if we want. Of course, the head itself is just useless for animation purposes. So, but in general, this is kind of a good starting point. Also, the hips should be fixed, but again, that's a different story. All right, so that's what you can expect from ZRemesher, and this is about 8,000 polygons. If you want to use, you can fix and repair some areas. This is another model. If you compare the two, for example, here, this one has a little bit less resolution around the arms, but still have a lot here. I think the arm is generally better with the other ones, so that's a good to go. The legs, let me check the other leg, the resolution with this one. This is slightly smaller in resolution, but not that much crazy amount. The first one, this is the first one, this is the second one. The second one is better, is a lot better here and there. It's still not working perfectly, but it is better if we check it. All right, so that is the foundation point. Now, moving on ahead. So the manual Retopo of the head as the next chapter is coming up. Let me just go back to the decimated one and see it for myself. So how to start this whole thing. The first, we want to create a full polygon for ourselves, and that is coming from, let me turn on BIH. And BIH is the brush, insert multi-mesh brush with some with a special polygon in the end. So we have symmetry enabled, and let me just use a smaller brush size and make this change. So let me drag it out, and here we are. So now, before we move on, let me discuss something. So let me just reduce the size and check this draw size value. Okay, so this draw size value. What we have done is, when we are using this draw size and when it's set to 1, the brush is going to the smallest amount. So let me undo and use this resolution of 1. And as you see, the model itself it has actually smaller details than the brush size itself. And that is coming from the scaling of the whole model. So if you check this before you start the manual retopologizing process, this is a good idea to set the things correctly. So to avoid any issues, what I'm suggesting to zoom out, and Unify usually works the opposite way. Unify usually shrinks things or make things, this 2 by 2 meters cube. But right now, this figure is 2 by 2 meters or it should be. So let me check this. Here's the sphere. The default sphere is 2 by 2. So this means this figure is unified. But when you have a unified figure, that would be too small for retopologizing. All right, so let me just delete this one and select the figure. This is the decimator figure, and I will just scale it up. Shift F and scale it up. Now, how to use the scale? Zoom out and turn off symmetry and make sure it is centered, and make sure Alt and press. Now it's aligned, so everything is perfect. The reason why we want to be zoomed out, because we want to exactly scale it up with 10 amount, so 10 times. So I'm dragging, and as you see, I cannot drag it anymore. In ZBrush, there is a limit for it. One time you can scale it at 10, and then I can scale it again to 10. Okay, so just let me just do this. So from here, we have been going to this with the scaling. Now, when we are going back to our draw brush, this is what happens. Our brush size, again, is set to 1. And look at here. So this brush size now, it's really small, okay? So we have room for adjustment. This is value 3, but if you set it to value 1, you can actually pick individual points, all right? So that is the goal. Now be careful, because sometimes if you have a brush size set to 1, sometimes it's overly small and create issues. Now if you have the other models and you want to use these others as well, you can do the same treatment, turning off symmetry and set it to center, alt and click, and then scale it up, zoom out and scale it up to 10 times, and then turn back on symmetry. And when we have these models, as you see, these models are now matching in size. This one is small, okay? So just keep in mind, this is the reason why we want to use this 10 times scale. It allows us to fit things nicely. Okay, let me go back to the draw brush and just simply drag out this single poly and drag it out, and don't be shy about this. This is what happens. So when we are dragging this out, it will create a new polygon, and if we have symmetry enabled, it will create 2 right away. I have to turn it back on, and now we have 2. So this is where we start. The other thing is we want to break it off. So how to break it off, I'll press Shift F and show you this. So this one is undoubtedly masked. Everything else that's belonging to the original mesh, it's masked. So this is where we are. And if you use split mask points, split unmasked points, that will split the this one and move it away. And this is split mask points, so those will be cut off. And because we have no, the visibility is turned off, this is why this one is gone. But basically you are creating a new model from this one, and the active model will remain the polygon itself. Okay, so that is the main reason. Now, because we don't want to keep everything in hand, and so many keys are and buttons and whatever are there, certainly this is a hard to remember brush. So I will put this brush in the palette and going brush, and this is BIH, and drop it in here in the Retopo. Move it to the bottom, and split mask points or split unmask points could be a good idea. So if you want to do this over time, this is helping a lot. So let me drop it in here. And if you forget about, for example, the typical thing is you forget to turn on symmetry and you start working right away. That could be handled by the Z plugin. Where are you, Z plugin? Here's my required little helper, and we have Subtool Master and not export. Here's the mirror, so we can use this mirror function to duplicate if something goes off and you forget to mirror because you're only focusing on quickly start to work. Okay, so this is where we are, and now once this is done, this model is not exactly snapping on the surface, so we are just creating a simple fancy post-it basically. We need further brushes, so let me turn off enable customize to have some more room. And the brushes we have is set, and it's there in ZBrush, but it's by default it's not really loaded automatically because you're not using it all the time. So in the LightBox you can have brushes and ZModeler and brush ZModeler, and this is ZModeler Topology. Okay, so I have another brush as well, but this is a default ZModeler Topology, and double click and it will load. Now once you have loaded, before we do any things here, I will explain what's going on with this. But first we want to place it here. So ZBrush, Control Alt and drop it. Okay, just a second. So there we are. We have the ZModeler Topology brush in here. Control and Alt and drag it and move it over. So that is the brush we want to use. Now this brush has, let me activate this. This brush is actually Ctrl+Shift-I, and master configuration is saved. Perfect. So this brush is sensing where we are. It is sensing if we are on the edge, it is recognizing if you're closer to this point of the edge or this point. So it can come into play. It will recognize the point you're selecting. It will recognize the direction of the point depending on where you watch. If you're going into the face, it will recognize which quarter you are in the face, or if you are in the edge. And everything is coming up and related to the menu system it has. So if you want to adjust a behavior of the brush itself according to the edges, you're hovering over the edge and press spacebar or right mouse button or right click or bottom the button of your pen, and it will tell you what it does. And the 90% of operations when you are doing retopology is extruding edges by extending them, extruding them. And this is what it does. It will extrude the edges. The target is edge and edge loop, so it can extrude a single edge, or it can extrude a bunch of edges. It can go along and extend it to a larger patch. What we are looking for is this snap to surface, which one is a pretty important part, and we have this smart attraction which allow us to weld right away upon the extrusion. So this is the snap surface is the main thing, and in general you don't really adjust these within the brush. You can do other stuff, but it will remember. So when you are switching from extrude, for example, to extrude move, it will remember to that particle extrude move settings in the bottom here. Okay, so these areas, don't touch them unless you know what you're doing, or if you have a tendency to rushing your strokes and just punching the pen. Be careful with it. Use a mouse slow down at first or something to get a knowledge in this, and then you can speed up, and you will eventually. So again, extrude, it will bring back the settings, and you see the operation is going here. This is the hierarchy level first, and then it comes what target, what is to choose from, and then how it is performing. Okay, so that's where we are. Now this is regarding to the edge menu. If we're going to the face menu, and I'm using the same thing, we have this do nothing option. Which one is, yeah, it's really useful to have that one. So it will do nothing. If we are moving on the vertex or point, when we press this one, it will set to move by brush radius. So that means if you have a larger brush, you can just drag a larger portion of your 3D mesh, and you can drag it along the surface, so you can snap it on the surface. Attraction valence is set to 1. Attraction valence is actually how points are welded. Now let me do first the first things with the default settings. So nothing is there. I'm just grabbing the point, moving this point, and as you see, the model is sinking into the surface. Now here's the deal. Right away we'll face with something. Just because we have this Retopology tool, it doesn't mean it can automatically do everything right. So for example, in some cases the brush should be adjusted, and we need to move some points here and there in order to be able to grab the points correctly. So now I'm having some issues. I can't really drag the point as easy. So what should I do? And I don't even see the model. The polygon itself is sinking into the surface because we are not dealing with polygons here. We are mainly dealing with the points, and the points are on the surface. But the connecting tissue, the connecting edges and everything, they may sink into the surface, especially if you have a convex surface like this. So to address this issue, we can use the dynamic subdivisions. So geometry, dynamic subdivision, and we will use this a lot. So let me drag this right away, enable customize, and drag this right away and move it over here. and dynamic, and what we want to do is dragging this slider as well and dragging the thickness as well. These are the main three things we want to use. May I? Okay, so now it's there. Okay, so let me drop it here. Now here it is. So we have dynamic, but be careful because by default dynamic is, let me go to isolation mode, enable customize, solo, and solo mode, and this is shrinking down because we have this smooth subdivision value, and as you see it's set to 2. That means it's 2 subdivision. Let me set it to 1. This is how it goes, and if you set it to 0, there is no subdivision. So we don't really want subdivision. What we do want is basically this thickness value. So let me just increase the thickness, and now we have that thickness. Okay. Now let me leave solo mode and see the model for myself, and now I see the model and the brush is working differently. Okay, so the brush is working differently. It can detect the polygons much better, and the end points are much better as well. So now as you see, this is a tiny little polygon, and then I'm changing around and adjusting it. Now here's the deal. So it's time to move on and start the Retopo. So I'm dragging it out from the edge and right away making corrections. This is the most efficient workflow, not just dragging and dragging and dragging, because the polygons will start turning around. Okay, this is the bad way. So you're going along here and then you start from this direction and try to do this, and as you see, this is just completely off. A common beginner mistake. This is why I'm just exaggerating the whole thing. So when you are extruding, right away make your corrections. Okay, make your corrections. Drag it. Make that polygon turn just like bicycle spokes. Here's the center of the hub, and all the edges are pointing inside. So dragging and just moving around, and I'm dragging. As you see, and pulling the vertices. Just undo. If you have experience something is off, if you just quickly just touching the thing and something is it is really easy to create an edge around. This is why it's a good idea to rotate, and whenever you see something is off, you're just tapping in and something is happening you don't may see, you may want to quickly do a correction. So you can use undo, or you can use a different mode. For example, if you have accidentally created a face, and undo is not an option because you created it earlier, you can press the space bar and just from do nothing, when you are, this is polygon action again, you can go with delete and then move over and tap it and it will delete. If it's not allowing you to delete, but you have this extruded, so let me extrude it again. Sometimes you want to turn off dynamic and see it for yourself and then delete. If it's still not okay because you have created the polygon in the opposite direction, so I mean you've extruded it in behind, and let me check this if I made it. Yes, so here you don't see extra polygon, but here from rotating around I've created a polygon and propose, and that is giving issues. So trying to extrude, for example, but I can't extrude. This is the reason, because we have a polygon on the back. And again, dynamic is turned off. The mesh contains two edges that are shared. Okay, so that's causing issues here. Okay, so you can see that is causing issues. So let me turn off dynamic and delete this polygon, turn back on dynamic, and now it works fine, and leave solo mode. Okay, so that is a quick way to fix things if you have issues. The other thing is look around and rotate around all the time. Okay, if you see this is too dark, what you can do is you can go light and change the light direction to a little bit more upfront, and that would be a little bit brighter. It's up to you. Now let me go back with the edge and make a correction. So let me drag this. This is the corner of the eye, so this polygon will be the corner of the eye. I will just drag it and move these points around. Now in some cases you want to have a brush that is let me turn off the polygon action, not deleting, because it will delete all the time. So instead of having to switch various functions, what you can do to speed up the workflow is to create a brush that is meant to be moving polygons instead of creating, and that is a great opportunity to fine-tune stuff. Let me just make this change a little bit better. Okay, and drag it now. So we are moving forward. So again, this is the corner of the eye. This polygon is matching with this one. I'm looking for pairs. Okay, so this is the representative of the bottom. Here's the next one. So let me drag it out. And if we have to do a cavity for the eye, it's much easier to create a cavity, but we'll do the same technique with the mouth as well. So the cavities are much easier to perform. You can bridge the neighboring polygons. This could be a bridge, this could be a bridge, this could be a bridge. So count your polygons. Okay, this will be the next one. So I'm moving that one. And again, corrections around. So this is going there, this is going there. Before we do, if you are making errors or the mesh is not so nice, we can make some corrections, but if the structure is off, it is harder to correct. And if something is not working from one angle, change to a different angle, change to another thing. Now this may seem to be slow. This is not the fastest thing, especially when you're starting out, but if you do it right, it is certainly a kind of a hardest part, and certainly a stress zone in all workflows. Okay, so there we are. Now these are matching. What else should we do? Another one. And don't forget, we want to turn with the polygons. Think of the bicycle wheels, the spoke, and this will be in here. Let me just drag it from the different angle if it doesn't allow me to correct. So these are the pairs. All the pairs are matching. Here I will add one more polygon in this area, certainly a different angle, because I want to just move the point. If the point move is hard, we can reduce the size of the brush, and sometimes it allows us to pick better. Okay, just drag it out and move it around and drag. Now once that you have this initial loop around the mouth or eye, let me drag it and weld. If it's not welding, we can just move it around and manually adjust them. Okay, so that is the corner of the eye. Looks fine. Maybe this one should be a little bit higher, just to make things a little bit more even, but everything is in order. Okay, so there we are. Now it's time to extrude. Now when you start just simply extruding, it will create a fin, which one is, it's a good technique if you want to progress this way. So you can progress like this and progress like this, but it's not unnecessarily slow at this moment. So you can start dragging, and because we have this edge / edge loop option, we can press Alt and it will switch to a different method. So I pressed Alt and now it switches to a extrude all along function. So now everything is extruded at the same time. And again, before you move on, review your stuff. Let me press Ctrl+W. I want to see a little bit lighter. Okay, so before we are moving on, we are making corrections because we have to check the anatomical part of it. So rotate around, right? Topology is not an automated process. You have to collect your feedback. You can see how polygons, these are stretched out. So we want to dial them down. If you don't do this, you have to do afterwards, and it's much more time to do it afterwards. So let me just pull this and just distribute the polygons in a nice manner. Okay, if it looks nice, usually it is good as well. It's not true in all cases, but usually it is when you're doing retopology. So Alt and another stretch. So we have now a patch around the eye, and this is time where we can actually connect these patches. We can do one more round. for that, just making corrections. Okay, just let me look around and see it for myself. This something is not working as expected. Okay, there we are. We can grab it and just pull, and maybe this one should be a little bit out on this area. And we can use some relax and smoothing functions on the go, but that's it for now. Just a little bit of a vertex pushing allows us to have more control. Okay, good. Now start the extrusion, but right now I will start without this function. So I'm pressing Alt and it will revert back. Now do another extrusion and want to make sure it's welding properly. So that weld around the center is crucial, so pay attention to it. Weld properly, make sure that the points are there. So now I'm extruding upwards a polygon and creating another one here. So I will just lift this up and connect these two. So selecting the point and drop it onto the other one. Okay, so there we are. This is it. The nose, the bridge of the nose is there. This little goggle is already there, and we will extend from there. Okay, from here, this is a little bit tricky because we have three shapes. One shape is coming from the forehead. One shape is coming from around the eyes. I will actually create another loop. No, I'll just drag it up and drag it here, and starting from here and operating this way. Okay, so you can see that is one neat way to create a good straight kind of forehead, clean forehead topology. And then you can use Alt and this extrusion. Okay, and I will match these in here. Just grab, and we can actually weld here as well. Why not? So there we are. This is now a decent patch for the eye. Okay, and of course we can move forward. Now, something I like to do is imagine that you want to progress and you want to lift this up, but you don't want to lift everywhere. So what you can do is you can insert a stopper. So just simply drag and press Alt. This is a stopper fin. And when you're using this, drag, the edge flow will stop where you have this polygon. And then later on you can just use the delete the polygon and go back again and reset it to do nothing, and you're good. And if you want to just make your extrusion, then you can move on with the whole part. Alright, so that is the main thing. Now, what else? What type of brush we should use? It's time to create another one. Now, when you are using this ZModeler Retopo, by default, this brush is not loaded. So I will just look up the path and show you what to do. Okay, just a second. Alright, so when you are dealing with brushes, if you press B, by default it will if you press B, by default it will bring you the brushes, the basic brushes. Now these basic brushes are usually the ZModeler is included, but the ZModeler Topology brush is not included. So you can customize this if you wish. But you have to know where to find it. Now this is an older version of ZBrush, but it's basically the same with the maximum versions. There is in the program files there is a folder. So let me just drop it here with the brush presets. So here's the path. Okay, so this is system, program files, Pixelogic or Maxon, ZBrush version, ZData, and brush presets. This is where your quick brush selector will pick the brushes from. And in this, I have already copied the ZModeler Topology brush. And by default, when the LightBox calls the brush, LightBox looks for the ZModeler folder. So you have the same Pixologic ZBrush, but it's not ZData, it is ZBrushes. And inside the brushes, there is this ZModeler folder, and within the folder, there's the ZModeler slice and ZModeler topology. Okay, so that's how it goes. Now, this one is already included because I have copied the ZModeler topology brush, Ctrl+C, and pasted in here in order to have access from my quick menu, and the software will remember that I have loaded it in here and it can load automatically. But right now we want to create a new brush that's used for moving stuff. Okay, so the brush is is created this way. So I will use the ZModeler topology brush, duplicate it. So brush, and here's the brush that I have selected, and just clone the brush. So now this is the clone brush. And because it is cloned, it will tell that ZModeler topology _1. Okay, so here's the title. Read it. Make sure that you have selected that brush for yourself. So that brush is selected. Now, what we want to do is set basically everything to do nothing except moving the points. So face, do nothing. Edge, do nothing. Points, move by brush radius, snap the surface, and that's it. We can choose no attraction, so that means no points will be welded automatically. So when I'm using this brush, I can move around the points. If I have a larger brush, everything will be kept on the face. So if I have to make some corrections, I can do it fairly easy. I can use smooth and just move around and it will snap back again. So smoothing and just move around a little bit, and because snap surface is on, it will automatically get back things on track. Alright, so this brush is safe to use. If you have something stuck on, it's hard to catch, or something is off, it's really a neat way to fix things around. Okay, so if you're doodling, you have to reorganize your mesh in a certain way, or again using smooth and just snap things back on. This is a great little brush. Alright, now but the problem with this, the brush is looking exactly the same. So the first thing is brush, and we'll save as just the brush itself. So I will use the right now I'll save it on desktop, and ZModeler Retopology, and it will be a Topo move, and I will name it to Topo Move 2 because it's not the first one, just not confuse the things. And if we want to make it neat, I will use the ZModeler folder and use this path and save it there, and Topo Move 2 and save it, and now it's appearing perfect. Topo Move 2 name is updated, and because we can actually use a different icon for it. Now by default, if you choose select icon, it will grab the model that you have, but of course we don't really want this one. I have created a black and white simple picture for this brush. So the way to use it is, once you have the brush saved, you can just select icon, but if you can see what happened, so if you're just clicking on select icon, it will just grab the picture. But if you're going in here holding that Alt key and clicking on select icon, it will bring you the dialog. So let me just go in here and desktop, and we have ZModeler Topo Move icon. Let me open this up, and we have to save it again. So save as, and this will be the same path, ZModeler Topo Move 2. Let me hit save, and yes, I want to change it. So now it is saved. If we want to be a part of the whole system, we want to put it, we can save it in ZData, but right now this is fair enough, so I'm going to just go with ZBrush and drag this Topo Move brush and put it in here. Okay, enable customize. So brush and move it in here, and yeah, so dynamic, subdiv, thickness, these are here, and we have these two brushes, so we can easily switch between those. This is for creating, and we can just progress and move forward and create the extensions. So let me drag this. This is looking nice, and then we can use the Topo move and just reorganize stuff. Fairly easy to get the results we are looking for. Again, if you're using it in a larger size, you can smooth things around and just use it to clean up things. Okay, so that is the main purpose of using some special brush savings, and it's time to move on to other areas, namely the mouth area. But before we do that, it's better if we are not just starting the mouth here, but progressing from and along the line of symmetry. Usually the line of symmetry is a tricky part. So if you can do, progress on that direction. So I will just grab it here, use a smaller brush size, drag it out, and progress forward from here. And not worry too much about these parts. What I will do is I will fill this. Okay, let me just start and use Alt and a single polygon. And as you see, I've just inserted, it's not a triangle, but it is a turn. Okay, so a similar thing that we have had here. This looks like it should be a triangle, but what you do, let me just go in and delete the polygon and go back and just simply do nothing. So what you have here, you can connect this not with a triangle, but starting from here, and make sure one point is welding but the other one is floating free, and push it back, and it's still a quad. Okay, it is still a quad, but you can work from here and extend further. Oh, excuse me. So there we are. Now I think we should do more of these splits. Okay, so the mesh needs more from here. Let me just do this, drag and use Alt and drag it around and see how it goes. This is looking fine. Weld it up here, make the corrections. Alright, so we are growing on here. Weld it. Okay. And then we will progress forward soon. Okay, so this is where we are now, around the nose, and just extrude, make the corrections, extrude, make the corrections. And now I will just use the single edge extrusion. Alright, and just going through this area, progressing towards the mouth. This is kind of a center. Here's the hole. This is kind of a center, and this is kind of the end. And I'm progressing and progressing, and this is the edge of the lip. We definitely want to go into it. And there we are. Now, this is the most important part, the outer, and we can have one more polygon inside. But first, let us create this frame for the mouth. Okay, so just a frame for the mouth. Move it here. Drag it, drag it. Okay, look for the polygon counts. You don't need too many polygons. Use as the least amount of polygons you can. The more you have, the more trouble you have later on. So let me just drag this. And as you see, we have to think of the bicycle spokes. We have to turn this. And so this point should be inside. A little bit more. Okay, let me just quickly switch to my move brush. And just move it around a little bit more control. You don't have to worry about by accidentally creating something. Okay, so just drag it and move it and drag it again. So this will be the corner of the mouth. These are the matching polygons. I will just move it around here. These will be the matching polygons. right different angle, maybe with the move brush. Now the move brush can grab it. Okay, so sometimes it's harder to do with a simple Retopo brush. Now here's a time to create a custom hotkey for this. So let me just go in. And so these are matching with this one is matching with this one. Looking for the numbers, looking for the counts. And stretch it. And again, there will be one more line inside. So this one is matching. This one is matching with that one. Perfect. So I'm just right now just looking for the numbers, not making too many adjustments, just simply like that. Okay, and this is a fairly closed mouth. Okay, it is not ideal in any means. And here's the deal. If symmetry is on, perspective is on. Let me check this from the front and see if symmetry it's right. We don't have any issues along symmetry. It looks okay for me now. And move it a little bit higher, move it a little bit higher. And definitely we don't want to stretch out these that much. Okay, how does it look? This is looking nice. Okay, so again, once you are creating the basic principle, the original shape, the original that's surrounding the stuff, then it's much easier to create a clean topology. All right, so just reducing the Frida Kahlo effect here. Okay, so there we are. Now it's time to fill up and create some circling things around. And for that, because this is a function we use a lot, so we are switching between the two brushes. We can turn off Enable Customize, and when we are turning off Enable Customize, then if we are pressing Ctrl and Alt, tapping on the name, it tells us that we can create a new hotkey. Just I have a recording operation, so Ctrl and Alt, and operation cancelled. So let me tap and press any key, and I'll Ctrl+X create a hotkey. So Ctrl+X is my hotkey. When I'm pressing Ctrl+X in here, it will bring the tools I have, so I can easily switch between my brushes, turning on and off things. So Ctrl+X is my hotkey. Now, when you have this one, you can press Ctrl+Shift and I to store the master configuration. But when you are using the hotkey is a different file. So if you want to maintain and have that, I can go to Preferences and Hotkeys, and there is this Store Hotkey option. So I will store the hotkey, and Ctrl+X now is used. Don't forget about this because sometimes autosave or crash or any background operation can break your hotkey if you don't save it. The other thing that breaks your hotkey if you have accidentally caps lock on, and sometimes because you're using Ctrl+Shift, and if you are on Windows, Ctrl+Shift is switching languages, so think of that time to time. Alright, so once we have this basic part, we can move on and progress. So dragging using Alt, and try to drag in this nice way. And here is the deal. This is not enough for me. I need another cut through. So how to deal with that? So here's the ZModeler brush, and we are in edge operation mode. So I'm over in edge, pressing Alt, and this is insert. Now be very careful. Insert, there's an R, insert, and this is inset. Okay, inset is completely different. Insert is inserting an edge along. So insert, and we want to create a single edge loop in this case, but it doesn't really matter. So when you're dragging, this is what happens. If you move your pen left to right or up and down, it will increase the number of the divisions, or it will keep it at low. Now, just when you are creating, think of it and consider it to check how many points you actually have. If you are afraid of it, or you have issues constantly, just go with insert and just single edge loop. Then I'm moving back to extrude, and as you remember that this is remembering the settings previously, so I'm just switching the modes and the functions and not changing the modifiers or anything else. What you have seen, you may have seen it, if you create something and operating with ZModeler and creating new geometry, it is receiving a new polygon group. Now, in this case, we don't really want to keep this polygon group, so I'm pressing Ctrl+W to refresh, and I'm pressing it a couple times till I'm having a polygon color that I like a little bit better. Okay, perfect. Now it's time to move on to the points, snapping, welding them. So now we have a little bit more room, and we can create another loop around. And be careful, because if we are just creating the loops without corrections, you know what happens? It will stretch out eventually. So this is why we have this nice little move brush, because we can just tailor these things. All right, so we have to stretch and direct and keep that bicycle spoke theme around. So it's not just randomly creating those points should be distributed. So here, this is way more dense area than it should be. This is a little bit stretched out, so we have to adjust it. We have to make corrections around that. So there we are. Okay, looks nice, looks fairly even. Now this is when you are animating, the less useless information is there, the more simple the mesh, usually it holds better with a lot of demand and changes. So let me create another loop in here and stretch it out. I'm looking for the numbers. So this one is welding here, this one's welding here. Everything is fine around. So dragging, moving back, Ctrl+X, and just switching to the brush, dragging around, and yes, we can weld it here. Just because, here, look at here. So when we are dragging around, and even if this point is snapping there, sometimes it is not 100% snapped, so you have to go in here, tap on it, and now it's welded. Okay, so it can cause some headaches. Make a habit of checking your control, checking the welding. If it's strong, if it holds strong, that's fine. Now here's the shape will come down here in this direction. So we want to definitely use our little move brush and just tailor it to be able to catch up with this part. And again, smoothing, a little bit of a move, smoothing, move around, and there we go. Okay, smoothing around, and that's it. Smoothing around, and just simply move, and it will snap back. So smooth and simple move, and it's much more organized now. Okay, so there we are. Now we have some headache to how to cut and connect these in a nice way. Okay, we have to progress forward with the nostrils. We definitely want to insert an edge that supports our geometry a little bit more, but when we are doing that, we have to add another supporting edge around here, and we want to progress and fill this area and create a nice shape that's running across and creates kind of a mask-like feature on the face. So the first thing is inserting supportive geometry. So what you can do is you can always use this insert and edge loop 1 and Ctrl+W to create a new color, and then just switching back to simple extrusion. I forgot to add the supporting geometry here, so I will do that as well. So again, just insert and single loop and Ctrl+W, and then we are just simply switching back to the normal extrusion process. Don't forget to switch back if you are using a main function. And I will use the simple topology move tool and just smooth things around and just move it around. And there we are. Move it, smooth and move. Just catch. And we can smooth further on the go. Later on with even deformation tools, but right now this is where we want to go, and that will be the area. So I'm progressing on that direction. Yeah, that's looking fine. So preparing for the nostrils, this is going there, and just switching back to the standard the standard modeler tool, and again Alt, drag and Alt, and just snapping there. Here we have a little bit of an issue, so don't forget to rotate around, and I'm dragging, and right now I'm doing this one by one, okay, not trying to hurry things around. These are the most intricate parts of the model, so you don't have to do them just with less clicks. It doesn't really gives you any edge if you're keeping this too fast. I've seen a ghosting there, and that caused an issue, so I'll just reduce it, make sure it's snapping, rotating around, see if it stretches or something is happening. Can we just give more polygons towards this? Yes, for sure. So this is nice and even topology there. Okay, so creating another one. Now it's turning. This should be around the edge. Okay. Here we'll need another face, but right now I'm just trying to match, trying to close this shape. Okay, so trying to close this shape. Now this will be here, and if I want to keep this density, I may need to add more around the mouth to avoid creating triangles or creating some weird shapes. So there we are. Again, can you see this is an error? So I'm instantly pressing undo, looking for a different direction, make my changes, dragging around, look where we are. Okay, so that is considered to be good. Okay, just make these. Can we stretch this out? Is it working? Or is it too much? No, this one is looking fine. Dragging larger size polygons. Okay, so now this is time to insert another edge that supports the geometry here. And of course, we want to split and look for the pair. So this one's pairing, this one's pairing, this one's pairing. And when we are inserting here, we have to do the same thing on the bottom. So this one and this one. And Ctrl+W. And filling the supporting geometry. Again, going back to Extrude. And these are welded already. And I will just pull this out, drag this here. Now we have an edge. Pull this. Okay, and going in this direction. So we have another edge. We have these. We have these. And we can move all along and create the wrinkle around. So the wrinkle can go down and support the geometry in a nice way. Okay, so that is stretching out. All right, so there we go. And we have 3 edges, so we can deal with this by reordering these points. And fill it up. And of course, if we want to keep this density, we may want to add more, one more segment here, and then we're basically done with the addition. So as we are adding one more segment here, we have to look for the other pair. So again, insert an edge, and this is the corner of the eye. So these are matching, these are matching, these, and these are here. So this should be on this area. And Ctrl+W, select a little bit of a light color. And of course we should go back to move, and when we are using the hotkey with the Topo move, we can just simply use the smoothing function and going back and smooth and going back and move it around, and now just clean it up and smooth and just move it around. There we go. And of course, if you want to move the endpoints, then you have to click them manually. So this is the Topo move brush. I have an edge function. Yes, do nothing. So don't need to worry that much. And there we go. Okay. Correct. So now we are welding these all together and making the changes we wanted. Okay, going back, Ctrl+X, Topo, and welding, and there we go. Brush size smaller, and the weld is happening in a nicer way. And yes, we have to divide it here. We have to change directions soon. But let me grab this and grab this one and move it around, grab. So now we have the structure we're looking for. Again, so Ctrl+X, simple, smooth, and then just simply move things around and it will snap back to the original model. Move things around and snap back. Okay, working great. And moving around. Perfect. Now this is the moment where we want to introduce a change in the direction. So we are running in this manner, so we're creating a circular pattern around, and here there will be another face, another part going on. So with the ZModeler, I will create this mask around the mouth, and then we will create the mouth cavity. Okay, so that's the first thing. Let me just do this and create the mouth cavity. Okay, there we are. There we are, and connect it. And here's something that when you are using the smooth, the smoothing is working a little bit different. It's not dragging the edge itself. It's like masking the edge. So we will use a different technique just in a second. But first, let me complete this circular pattern around the face. So let me drag and use the ZModeler Topology brush and make that happen. Okay, so this is where we are, and going well. And once we have that, we will make the corrections of the fine tunes. So it's running. Again, we are looking for the spider web kind of structure. Okay, if it's not perfectly nice, it's not a deal, because we can use various smoothing techniques, but it is the structure what we're looking for. So going there, again, it's easier to make corrections right away. If you see some stretched and disoriented polygons, we can do that. And there you are. And I'm using now Alt key to extrude more, but it's not speeding up the process because of the directions. So let me just drag and press Alt, and just instead of doing that manually. Okay, when you have to turn with the polygons, it's considered as much harder to do these changes. So, but the chin is now shaping, so creating these, and just do the right thing. And once you have the, if you have a good outlines, for example, so you drag the outline and making the changes. So I'm dragging the outline. I'm looking for distributing these points a little bit better. When I have that, I can use a relax brush and just pull things around and it will use like a kind of a hold, kind of a framework. So if this outline is handled well, everything inside will match and it will smooth a little bit better. Okay, so this is how it goes. Again, it's kind of a flexible, nice deal around. Here I will do the same technique, so I will just move this away, move the point away, and enlarge it, and now using the smooth brush and just move it around. And as you see, this distribution is much more fine. Okay, so this is a nice way to tune things around. Let me finish with the bottom, and the next part will come up in a second. So again, going back to the ZModeler brush, using a smaller size, drag it, and paying attention around the symmetry. It's not, we don't want to extrude, we just want to move this point until they weld and snap, and then we can even go from here going backwards. Sometimes it's easier to maintain a good symmetry if we are progressing along symmetry instead of coming from outside to inside. So let me just drag it here, and this is a fairly clean topology. Again, because of the distribution, we want to manually drag some points. So we'll use the Topo brush, Topo move, and move it around, and just move it in here. And so these are the pairs. This one's pairing with this one, this one's pairing this one, this and this. Okay, perfect. So now, if we have some changes, we can clean this up by, again, adjusting the outer points. Can help us to refine the smoothing a little bit better. And this edge should be somewhere inside. These are a little bit snappy. Okay, just make it snap. Perfect. Okay, so that is the first thing around with some of the hardest areas. Now, of course, you can progress forward with other directions. For example, filling the gaps. But let me show what you can do and what you need to do around cavities. Okay, so that will be the next chapter. So it is time to create the mouth cavity. Let us see what we have. First of all, if you haven't following from the first moments, check your brush size. So if you can go down to, for example, 0 brush size or 1, this one brush size should be as small as a point, basically. If you don't have it, it would be harder to create this part, so you have to go first scale up your model, including the other parts as well. You can scale them by 10 times, and usually it will get a nice result, so check for that. Now, what else? We want to start slowly, so I'm using the ZModeler or Retopo brush, and just extend and make the corrections right away. So we are dealing with basically the inside part of the mouth, so I'll go as far as I can comfortably go without sacrificing too much data. And as always, we are rotating around and checking if this model is working well for our needs. Alright, so rotate around, check if everything is looking fine, and extend it again and make the corrections. Look around, see how it goes, and there we go. Now for rotation, I will restrict on the y-axis. This one helps a little bit to avoid issues to rotate around too much. And of course, if you have some practice, it won't worry you that much, but in the beginning it's always a good idea to have it. And just going on and make this change, and one by one. Okay, no need to hurry. Now here's the area where we should consider to use a smaller brush size and extend, and don't really want to extend any further. Okay, so don't snap this vertex here, because the goal is to keep the continuity and the polygon flow, and this is how this flow should be handled. Okay, so we are going around. Now you cannot really make this easily if you have the model in the wrong size. Okay, so there we go. Again, this is a hard task when you make it at first time, especially if you have a mouth that is somewhat almost like shut. And if you are sculpting your model yourself, then you should keep that in mind, to leave a little bit more gap between the mouth, between the lips, excuse me, and that can help a lot. And of course, if you make by accident you create a polygon or something, just make sure that you are undo right in time. Okay, here you don't need to hurry. Take your time. Make sure you check how many polygons are paired. So this one's pairing with this one is pairing with this one. So we should take care of this point and move it around. This is the point. If I can't move it, I can just simply switch to Ctrl+X and use the move tool, and hopefully that will work with the right way. Okay, keeping some distance. The more precise you are, usually the better results you will get, and sooner. So think of it as retopology is always a time investment. So it's not about how fast you can do or how fancy you can do. It's always about how well you can manage. Now I will just hopefully, if I'm turning off dynamic and making transparent, this may help as well to speed up some of the processes, because sometimes detection can be a little bit slower. So this is the technique I will use now. And maybe the move, snapping on the surface. It is snapping, but it's sinking into the surface. So going back to ZModeler, smaller brush size, extrude further, and just using the Topo move and matching. So these are matching, this will match with this one, and we need two more. So the brush I'm using here, and as you see, there is an overlap, so be careful, take your time, and drag and drag. Okay, and zooming in and make the changes, make the moves. Alright, so let me turn off transparency, see how it goes. Let me turn back on dynamic, and there we are. And if we wish, we can make some corrections. Just to avoid any confusion, I will switch to Topo move and just make simple changes. Alright, and of course we can just scale it up and use a simple relax type of thing and move things around and just make them pop. Okay, now this one is decent. Here we have an off symmetry issue, so think of it as something should be avoided. So let me go back and think what could happen here. So when you have something like this, usually the best tactic, if you drag it over the line of symmetry, if it's not working well, we can just give it a try to move or turn off symmetry temporarily and try to fix it. So I'm in a move mode. Let me see, this is move, so I can move this freely, and maybe moving it to this direction and then turning back on symmetry and then just able to grab the point. Can I? No. I will turn off symmetry, move it to the opposite side, able to drag. I couldn't just good to go. Symmetry is not, it's not working properly here, so what I'll do, I will turn off dynamic and make it transparent, make it fully smooth, and give it a go if I can move it around. And now I can drag it. So I was able to move it. Symmetry off, and I'm turning back on symmetry now. X, and if I can move, yeah, it's snapping now. So it is correct. Here we also have some issues. In the end, what you can do is you can always use modify and mirror and weld, and I will use that now. So let me just show this technique. This is the right time to do it. So let me turn off, I'll make it solo so we can see now the model. And we have few issues. So we have a vertex, for example, here that's going all along. So I will use a simple BMV tool to fix this and drag this vertex and move it around. So let me see where we are going with this one. So it's a simple move brush, BMV move brush. And we have to massage this vertex back into position. And there we go, a little bit up. So if you're disturbed by this, you don't see it, we can go with display properties and we can turn on double, and that shows the inside and the outside of the model as well. And this is a great way for troubleshooting. Alright, so if you have stray vertices or some vertices with hard to find or something similar, this is one good technique for that. Okay, fixing the line of symmetry. Now, when we are dealing with this, usually we are ending up having triangles. Let me show this. So in theory, we have modified topology and just simply mirror and weld. But when we do that, it will, if the original polygon is short in size here on this side, let me undo this. So here should be the center line, but this is off inside because this side this is the kept side. This is what we keep. Before we do this, we should turn off symmetry and drag these points. So some of these problematic points, if you drag them over to the other side, it can help a lot. So let me drag this over. Okay, and I'm just testing now, mirror and weld. And as you see, because these are over, we don't have to worry. Let me undo this and drag these points. And drag these points and testing mirror and weld. Okay, so this is not working properly. This point should be to take over. Alright, this is good. So anywhere else need to fix it? Do we have an open gap? No, not yet. Okay, so this one is fixed regarding to symmetry. Now it's time to make the mouth part. I'm turning back on symmetry and moving this area here a little bit and looking around. Push this, excuse me, just making it look nice way. Okay, looking for the right angle. Perfect. So to make it, we are switching back to the ZModeler. So Ctrl+X and ZModeler Topo, and perspective is off. I'm using the shift key to snap into a side view. If you don't want to do that, you can use the cam view, the head on the top, and the function is, it's an edge function. So let me just tap on the spacebar, and this is, instead of extrude, this is extrude move. So extrude move is a little bit different because we have a free move function. It's not snapping to the surface, so we can drag it and move it around. Now before I do that, first of all, I'm clearly creating an open area. This structure is good. So if you have a fail in the structure, if you have a gap, if there's a triangle, the software cannot maintain a polygon flow and your extrusion will be broken. So if we have a missing polygon, the whole edge loop is not selecting. Let me show it from here. So I'm selecting this one, tapping on Alt, and now I'm dragging, and what I do, I'm dragging the whole bag. Okay, so the whole mouth is going well. If you make this test and it doesn't work, on just partials are done and not the whole mouth cavity, then you should check your mesh and see if the mesh and the polygon flow continuity is well, and you have no vertices to weld or something, or repair or delete. Now, if we know it works, then we are moving to the side, leaving enough room, starting from the edge, starting dragging that edge and pulling that out. And because we have symmetry on, and because we are in a side view, this is a perfectly pulled out mesh. Now the reason you see it in this case is, if you don't see it, then make sure that you have display properties double on to fix that. Okay, so what's next? We definitely want to close the gaps. This is why we are counting polygons. So same brush and edge functions, and the edge function is called the bridge. So symmetry is on. If we don't remember if symmetry is on, just always check the double edge of the brush icon and tap on the first edge and tap on the second one, and this will allow you to connect the two. Sometimes double is off. I'll use a flip function and tap on this particular edge, maybe resize the brush. Yeah, there we go, and now we have a new one. So I will keep it a double, hopefully it will work, and with a smaller brush size it's just a little bit better. So yeah, that's one, and connect it to here. White, 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 and white, highlighted, white and white, and we want to keep it. We want to keep this polygroup. We don't really want to get rid of it because it's easier to select. Okay, my bad. So let me change a little bit of the angle, and boom, we are just smooth. We are there. Okay, there we go. So now I can turn off double if I wish, but right now we have to flip it. So then this is the original look of it. So I will turn on double just because it's easier to maintain and look around the structure. This polygon should be straight. Right now it's arced, so we can go with W, move mode, and hold down Control and tapping on the polygon group hopefully will allow us to select. If not, I will just go back to draw mode, Ctrl Shift and tap on the model, and okay, I will turn off double, use flip and tap on now. Okay, now it's getting, sometimes my pen is a little bit messy. So what I will do, I will just Ctrl A, get back everything, invert selection by using tab. We can use W and hit F, and the 3D gizmo should be somewhere in the middle. I will use recenter, pressing F again, and just use the scale to flatten down this area. And if it's too deep, you can just resize it slightly. Okay, so there we are. And what else? We want to clear the mask. We definitely don't really want a mask, and we definitely want to introduce more segments around here. You already know how to do it. So this is the insert, and insert with multiple edge loops. So when starting inserting and dragging, and a few edges. We don't need crazy amount, but decent. Okay, we have alternating polygroups. Basically what to do is we can select this main polygroup here in the back. So we can select this one and use Ctrl+Shift+X and grow the selection. And when you see the other color is introduced, the beige one in our case, this one's already the outside of the mouse, so I will just Ctrl+Shift+X, revert back, and Ctrl+W to assign a new polygroup for these guys. And there we go. And of course we want to get back our polygons. And what else? We can use a bin inflate brush, and symmetry is on, so we can just sculpt in here. I will protect the other parts, so Ctrl+Shift, Ctrl+A, invert, and that's it. Just protecting the mouth area. We don't want to mess around with that too much. And okay, just using a smooth, inflate a little bit more, inflate a little bit more, and using smooth. So we can just basically blow it up and create the nice feature we are looking for. And because it's a separate polygroup, so now on, if you want, or for any reasons you have to modify it, it's not that hard anymore, because there is this geometry and the cavity is already there. So that's it. That's how it looks. Now let me turn on flip. So this is the face, how it should look. And we have altered a little bit here and there. So what I will do, I will use a projection. So let me get back my model, and first of all, masking some areas. Now here's a little trick that you can do with projection, so you can mask the areas you want to actually correct and project. I will use this outer area and invert and turn off solo mode, and going back to subtool and project, and I will use ProjectAll, and let me go back to solo mode, and as you see, this projection just dropped the selected areas. So everything that was masked, it's not affected by projection, but this part is fixed. If you wish, you can turn it around and look if everything is fine. The inside of the mouth is there, and because this visibility, this display flip double is really useful if you want to model from inside out, or something is happening and you have to fix it and you don't find the polygon. It's also a good feature to have. Now that is the main part, and of course you can do the same with the eyes. With the eyes, it's a slightly different, because we're not introducing edges and not creating a socket that way. We'll basically create a patch and then extrude it. So the way it works is, let me just leave solo mode and turn back on dynamic. And what we can do is we can use the bridge, the same technique that I was showing. But right now, before I do that, let me just make sure the edges are working properly, or the points are placed in the right place. So this is the corner of the eye, and before we're doing anything fancy, we are just basically catching up with the parts, and the edge function is called bridge. This is bridged with this one, this is bridged with this one, bridge with this one, and bridge. Using extrude instead of QMesh, we are using extrude and Polygroup Iceland. So we can just drag it and drag it again, drag it again. So now we have plenty of polygons inside, and using smoothing. So to protect the area, I will select this, Ctrl+A, mask it out, get back all the unwanted stuff, and these will smooth out. So smooth out, and that's it. Basically, this is a nice cavity. Let me clean up this and go back to solo mode And we have a few points that are not exactly in the right position. So I will just revert them and choose dynamic and see how it goes. So now we are back on track with the model. Something is happening here. Don't know what was happening. We have we have a few things on. Let me turn off and take it to do nothing, and use the relax and just reproject this area. I think it will be better. So we are protecting with the mask, selecting, inverting, Ctrl+I. If you are zooming in, you can use Ctrl+I, and projection. Now this projection is used a lot, so actually it's better if you just project all. If you keep it, add hands, and drop it in here. So I will use enable customize and project all and drop it in here. And there we go. Make the order so project all will be just a perfect solution for this now. Alright, so that's it around the that's it for the eyes. Let me show this in solo mode. So where we go. Enable customize, turn it off. Solo mode, control drag. So that's where we are. We don't necessarily have to have a polygon group that's different in the end. So what I will do is I will just hide these away, invert, hide this away, and Ctrl W to make this one polygroup. So now it's working nice. We have the eye cavities, we have the mouth cavity, and we definitely want to create the nose part. So solo mode, let me turn this off and fix it. We need dynamic to have a better view, and using the move. Okay, do we have any function? Bridge function is on. I will just do nothing. Point function is move, and face function is do nothing. Okay, so that's great for moving things around. Alright, so it's time to fix this thing a little bit. We are about to create the cavities, so I'm switching to the actual ZModeler Retopo and start building. Oh, excuse me, we have a different edge function, so we are going back to the normal extrude. And as you see, I'm going inside and going inside here as well. And what I like to do is I like to start smaller brush. Turn off dynamic and just move this and make it snap, and then we can turn on. So this one is not welded. Oh, by accident there's a created polygon. Okay, may I undo this? Is it possible to undo? Okay, so point is selected, we can move it, and point is selected here. We want to keep a distance, and then we can extrude. And let me turn back on dynamic and see it for yourself. So now this is the polygon that was created. I want to catch it up and hook it up with the previously created polygon, and I will just use the Topo move brush to make sure that I'm not creating by accident anything. And this Topo move brush now, the Topo move brush has this snap to surface function, and it's welding as is for now. So this is welding pretty well. Okay, and what else here? We should check this. And going back to the ZModeler brush and make it snap. If it's not snapping, I will use the Topo move brush because it's a little bit more, gives me more control over the points. And again, just going back with this one, and we want to weld this point there, and of course the Topo move will be a better companion to do this. So this one is welding up, this one's welding up. I'm considering having different layout. Let me check this with the dynamics. So here we go, dynamics. Okay, it's going well. We have to create more. This one is not welding as it should be, so I will delete this guy and using the delete function. So delete function and remove this one. And instead of having that, polygon functions just do nothing. Instead of having that, I will just extrude it out, weld this point up, and extrude this here, and just considering to move this point. And this is inside. We should weld these two guys. So dynamics should be turned off for now. Topo move. Yeah, this is a tiny part. It's it could be a little bit time consuming sometimes, but there we go. And brush is not this, the move brush, so we're switching back to Topo and extrude and snap it in here. Okay, let me see what we have done. This is looking promising. So there's a nice cavity going on. It's shaped organically, and we can breach some parts if we wish, but right now I don't really think we need to do that right away. So that inside part is going well. This is a little bit moved. Okay, the point should be snapped up. Here should be snapped up. There we go. This is it. Going solo and check if this welding. Alright, everything is welding up correctly. Here we can make this not a polygon and see. Yep, solo mode helps, but maybe this can add more to it. Okay, dynamics, and there we are. And Topo move to move it inside. Okay, correct. ZModeler and just moving up. Yeah, be careful with the automatic welding. So again, you have to make it fit. And I will just snap this point into here and bridge this gap by extruding through and pulling it all over. And that's it. Basically, we have now the nose cavity. If we go solo, this is how it looks. Of course, if you wish, you can make it deeper. You can use the technique what we have used the eye, so you can just bridge it and then extrude inside. That's also one thing that you consider. The reason I like to do it this way is because this area where this one naturally goes into, this can make it much smoother. So let me just show this with dynamic and having a subdivision. So this is a nice and neat transition from there. Okay, this sculpt is not as detailed, so we don't have so many wrinkles around, but technically the base Retopo should be as smooth and as simple as possible with the results, with the desired result. Okay, so going back, leaving solo mode. So this is the hardest part. Basically, we have the mouth cavity, we have the eye, we have the nose, and the rest of it we should consider to reduce density with the polygons around the top of the head, and we should build this up. So that is the next part. So I'm going and creating the dynamics. Okay, so we are in ZModeler and we can move forward with it. So extrude around, moving the point. The brush size is too small, so sometimes if you see the points are not dragging properly, that may be because of the brush size. And as you see, we are creating a kind of a joint in here, so we're doing that and extruding forward. And I will just use the extrusion and use the alt function to progress a little bit faster, but it doesn't mean you don't need to control. You need to control what you are doing, otherwise it will just blow things up. There we go. So a few changes, a little bit more higher, bigger brush size can help us to organize and clean. Great. So moving with it, make it snap, move it around. If the brush is too big, of course the snapping will not work properly. So let me just reduce the brush size, snap it there, hook up the vertex, and I will do the same thing. So extruding a little bit bigger brush size, extruding it, and there we go. So making them weld. Okay, so now these are welding. Of course, as this area is coming from the corner of the eye, this is quite critical in some cases. So you want to maintain this line relatively straight. And now I'm pulling this out just to organize things a little bit better. So we want to maintain and drag and move with this one all along. So I will just pull this out and use the single function. So drag it, just like kind of glasses. And I like to join this and move it to towards the ear. It's not a necessity, but it looks fairly nice, and it's easier to organize stuffs around. So that will go around the ear. Okay, so we have to have a switch. So I'm just using the Retopo brush and just creating that change and filling the gaps and just making the corrections right away. Okay, making the corrections right away and extrude. And of course you need some points here. So that's a different animal dealing with the ear. But deformation, there's not much deformation going on around the ear, so the drastical polygon size change is not as problematic. But when you're looking around the eye, you have to make this transition fairly smooth all around. So here we have larger polygons. Excuse me. Yep. And I will use some smoothing and just move it around and then snap it back with a simple move. Okay, now here's something that we should consider. Let me go with solo, because this can actually pop sometimes, so be careful with it. What we can do is we can hide it away. So Ctrl Shift and hide it and invert, and then use dynamic and keep that away from a mistaken move. Oh yeah, so dynamic is not working when you have something isolated. So in that case, what we can do is we can, first of all, we can split it if we wish, to keep it off safe, and re-weld later on, or just keep that in mind that you have to check it time to time how it goes. And if anything is wrong, basically, if you just simply press and save the file, you can always get back this sack once you have made it. Okay, and re-weld it by joining them with merge. And then we have, if the points are not moved, then you can use geometry and weld points. And here's this weld distance, this threshold. And if you have two polygon groups merged into one, and the points are basically falling in the same location and place, then you can use this weld points and weld distance adjustment. Okay, so let me go and leave solo mode and making the move changes. There we go. And fill the gaps and extrude and just move it around, a little bit smaller brush size. So this will be it. Another one. So here we have the tragus and the anti-tragus, and the helix is running around. So a few things to deal with and consider to solve. And yep, there we go, there we go, there we go. And going further, and from this position we want to fill up the chin area. So these polygons are running through here and filling up the chin area. Okay, before we are doing that, maybe it's time to consider and fill this gap as well. So I'm starting to drag the three-parter and dragging the three-parter again and see where it goes. So the good news is you can always reuse topology. So if you have a nice topology, once you have created it, you can use it over and over again by sharing. So if you have a good humanoid topology that works and it's battle proven, you can reuse it. But there are so many ways. So let me drag this out, and now welding here. So this is going pretty well. Now moving to that direction. However, I was a little bit eager with this, so let me just pull this one out. Okay, this is straight. It's better if we start dragging over. So instead of using this, I will just quickly delete back these polygons. This is edge mode, but we are polygon mode, and polygon delete, and delete these two. Excuse me. So maybe even this one. Yep, and start with the drag, extrude, and polygon mode. Polygon mode is do nothing. Correct. So let me drag this guy and progress towards the head, towards the back of the skull. Now when we are dealing with this, we will reach a point where the density is a little bit off. So I will use now the brush Topo move, and with the largest size, and try to drag it and but in a nice way, and try to pull it, and more like defining a hairline, but defining the hairline, but also turning with the polygons. So it's running on top of the head, but during that we are also trying to keep, and as you see, this will be the direction of the hole. So I'm just smoothing it out, dragging and moving around, smoothing, dragging, smooth, drag, and fixing it. Okay, this will be filled. We need another gap around, so going back to ZModeler, pulling it out. Okay, and we have to turn with these. Moving it a little bit closer. Yes, exactly. So smoothing it and moving back. We can use also cloth tools for this, but cloth tools will affect multiple parts. Let me switch back and hit F and see it first. So there we go. We have a symmetry issue. So symmetry is broken here. Again, what we do is usually we are getting back symmetry by using the mirror and weld function, but be careful, you have to turn off first the symmetrical part. So I will do the same thing again. Let me go here to solo mode and turning off symmetry and dragging over and check it, mirror and weld, how this is working, And if there's any issue, and even inside the mouth, then we should check it. And there is an issue here. There is a gap here. So I will just going back and make sure this one is also moving through. And let me hit mirror and weld, and it snaps back. Here we still have an issue. So let me go back and just move these things around slightly and hit mirror and weld. And now this looks good. So inside the mouth is okay. I'm looking for triangles or anything like that that resembles an issue. But this is looking nice. It's looking nice, and you can still do that time to time, but this is just a quick way to fix it right away. So yep, let me go back with dynamics, and there we go. Okay, we want to fill this gap, fill these guys, just by simply with the ZModeler and drag it over, individual drag. So drag and hit Alt and snap it true. And again, we can use smoothing and then just simply try to fix it with smoothing and with the Topo move, just a simple move in here. Okay, we can also use relax and similar stuff. Let me just hold it. So I'm pressing a quick save, and because we have now kind of a mask, we can use some other features. I forgot to turn back on mirror and weld and mirror, so to fix it I would just use it. Now I don't have to worry too much about the inside, or do I? Shall I? There was something happening in the cavity. Yep, the cavity was off when I made it, so I will just undo and simply fill this gap. So let me going back, turn on symmetry, use a smaller brush size, turn back on dynamics, so it's will be better if I'm just moving this and fill it. Okay, perfect. Now the relax stuff is working this way. I will isolate this part, and dynamic is not working in any ways when we have this, so nothing else is included. And we can use deformation, and with deformation we can use polish by crisp edges, and that shrinks up quite a few stuff. Okay, we don't have to be very strong, or you can use polish by groups, which was also working fairly well. Okay, and let me show this. So this is matching pretty well to the figure, and if you want to match this, you can use the ProjectAll function. So let me just isolate it first and insert solo mode, and invert the whole stuff. Ctrl+A to select all, because we want to mask them. Going back, now these are masked. You don't have to worry. Make the solo mode visible, and we can choose ProjectAll, and now everything is reprojected. And when we are going back with dynamics, this is looking pretty neat. Okay, let me show this again. Solo mode. So this is looks pretty fine. It's getting closer and closer, and you see this outer edge, because we have used the polish by groups or polish by crisp edges. This is really refined. Now you can't really make these features, you can't really use them if you don't have a relatively okay Retopo. Now here, because we haven't completed yet, this one's a little bit distorted, so it was too early at this stage. But let me go back to solo mode and complete this bottom part, and manually and create this chin area for our model. So the brush we're using is a ZModeler Topo brush. Now we'll reduce the size, drag it, and these points, and drag this point, and want to weld it here. Okay, we want to weld it here. Smaller brush size, and move it and move it over. Okay, so that's the turning point. Again, that is the turning point. We are moving over, dragging, extending, moving over, and that is it. And these polygons are fairly stretched out in terms of their length, so we have to reduce the amount of polygons, or we should consider to reduce them. Not necessarily have to, but we will take a look at the top of the head, how to reduce and how to deal with those. I'm just now trying to maintain a nice structure. So going in here and starting from the inside out, just to avoid symmetrical issues. So starting again, from the center. It's usually better along the symmetry. And snap. Now here we had a snap issue, so I need to go back and manually correct it. So when you do anything basically in any application that is considered to be used for retopologizing, then you have to double check what you do all the time. It's not just because you think it is done well, it doesn't necessarily working well, because projection is really depending on your camera location, vertical camera location, and that can causing challenges. Alright, so it's getting better. We are just finalizing this session, and this chin part is looking okay. Maybe with the density will be a little bit off, but this looks fine. There are no triangles in anywhere, even in the cavities. Maybe around the ears, if you are if you're not worried too much, you can create some triangles around the ears or inside the ears, because that will not really move or not will change anything if you have a few polygons here or there. Okay, smooth it out, and masking and invert mask. And let me check solo mode. We have a mask that protects and project all. And good news, even if we are in solo mode, if you have the model visible in here, the projection will work. Okay, so this is I don't know how many of you knew about this, but this projection will work in here. Okay, so let me leave solo mode and check this. Okay, so that's how the projection is working now, and we have a few more lines of polygons to deal with. Now, of course, we can reduce some, but at first I will create, and then we'll reduce a couple more. Okay, and we'll discuss how to create density changes around the polygons. So I'm just extruding now, and we will learn how to collapse and weld some edges. Okay, so this is already progressing. Polygons are a little bit stretched, and in the middle, okay, looking nice. And this is the last one. Maybe the brush size is too big, so I will go from here, and yeah, we should take care of this now. So this is extruded, and as well. So as you see, because the polygon size is not changed, these are fairly stretched out. Okay, a little bit of a close-up, smaller brush size. Now it's snapping. We are good. Okay, so that is basically the kind of a face mask, and you can start the ear from around, and this is a decent retopology. To get rid of some of the vertices we don't want, however, this stretch may be good, but here this density is not really necessary. What we can do is we can collapse some edges. Now the way to do it is you can do it manually. That way you have, it's one by one. So the function here is collapse, And when you're doing this, if you remember at the beginning of the video session, that we have, it can recognize if we want to weld this point in the lower end or this point to the other end. So I'm a little bit closer to that one, so that means that point is dragged over. So that point is dragged over, that point is dragged over. Now, this is okay, so this is gone, but here's the deal. This will actually create triangles for us. So it's pretty obvious that we have the triangles created here. Let me just collapse a few. Okay, so I'm collapsing a few, checking it if this works fine or not. This is not too much. I will stop it here and consider something else. Something else, I mean, how to get rid of these triangles. Now, what we can do is, we welded from this edge, was welded down through collapsing. We can weld this vertex up by collapsing. Okay, just to be careful. Touch functions on or off. So this is welded up. This is welded up, and we are creating a quad chamfer. So this is this will be a quad chamfer. Let me go in here and take it. So what you do is basically, instead of having a single triangle, you are generating two triangles on purpose. So now we have two triangles here. And we can go to edge mode, and we can go with the delete. Where are you, delete? So we can delete this single edge. And this is also a quad polygon. So I can switch to Topo move, use the smooth brush, relax brush, and maybe move it a little bit. And now it's okay. So this should look fine. And furthermore, a few polygons we need to reduce the width department. So we can create a junction like this here on the side, around the chin, below the chin. So what we will do is we will use the same technique. Now this is the move brush. I will switch back to ZModeler or Retopo and look for the edge function. And this is not delete. I'm looking for collapse. Okay, so the same collapsing effect. So I want this point to be collapsed with this one. So collapsing that one. This point collapse to that. Same thing here. Collapse. Collapse that one into it. Brush size is too big. Let me reduce it. And look for the normal, the actual. Okay, dynamic. Let me turn off dynamic, and hopefully that helps. Or different angle. Catching the points, not catching. This one is not exactly the right edge. Okay, there we go. Now finally we have it. Okay, so again, this one is collapsing to that area. This one's there. This one's there. This one's there. And we can actually remove the last one. So I'll just hit, where are you? Delete, and just delete this one. And use the simple Topo move and smooth it out and move it to get back on surface. And as you see, these are fairly normal sized polygons around here, which one is great to create the next move with the rest of the head. Okay, so before we do that, here we should also consider to reduce the amount of polygons, because this is the hairline somewhere here, and anything that's behind it, usually it's hidden or at least not as detailed. Of course, if you have special needs, you can make a difference, but right now this should be fine. Okay, so we'll follow from there. So it's time to think of the rest of the head, and mostly with the ears. So let me switch back to the standard Retopo and starting with the tragus. So here's the tragus, and I want to just move some polygons around here to be able to start from. So this is the direction I'm looking for. This will be the first thing for the tragus. The function was a little bit off. It's the delete. I will do this extrusion. So there's this extrusion, and of course this should be a little bit shrinking. So this is how it goes. And the tragus is usually consists of having a little bit of extrusion. Now this model has not much, so it's not the perfect example of how to model an ear. It's not bad, it's just not the usual one. So let me drag this over and create this little bumpy shape for the tragus. Okay, so we are just building that up. And here, this is the next move. There we go. Okay, so there's a tiny part here and there, but you can sculpt on this later on if you wish. And then making a change. Here we have a little bit of a gap, and I will use an extrude an edge here. So we are starting to basically tracing the main silhouettes, and that is around the inside and the cavity. So just keep it fairly simple. And again, the goal here is not to introduce too many polygons on this area. Okay, we don't really want to do that. So let me just move it away and flow from here. This is an edge created, and the earlobe, sometimes it's integrating well with the chin, sometimes it just doesn't. So it's absolutely a kind of a personal situation. So in this case, I will try to make it fairly seamless. And here's another connection. Okay, as you see, there is the connection, and we're progressing with this one. So shape is going pretty well. There's no, again, there's no triangles, only quads with this. Okay, something is off. Let me just do this and look at the projection. So rotating around is really helping us to make it fit, and the points may weld a little bit off here and there, so this is why we want to trace as much as possible with just correct placing of polygons. So now once we have a few of them, we can extrude, we can give it a try to extrude a few bunch all together, but there's a high chance something is off. And oh yeah, this is actually welding, this is too much, so I will just do it manually instead of that. So extrude, press Alt and just pull it, just to have a little bit more control. Again, it's not about speed, it's about accuracy, and the results will really talk if you are taking the time and do it. You can do it a lot faster if you are if you have an experience, or you have some parts that you can reuse. For example, you not necessarily have to do all the things all the time. It's usually we are using existing geometry, projecting, wrapping, using different softwares to make that happen. But ZBrush is perfect to wrap, especially if you're using ZWrap. But that is an independent plugin. Okay, so there we are. We are dealing with a lot of geometry, and yes, this is important to have this cavity, especially if you have a close-up and you want to create subsurface scattering. The reality of the model, the realism of the model is really coming to play when you have such effects like the subsurface scattering in our case, for example. Okay, so let me deal with this, And there we are. So it's getting better, and as always we have to rotate around and check how things are working, and slowly but steadily progressing. So extrude, give it a try to extrude all them once, and this was not that bad. So making the correction. Yeah, we could actually create a little bit longer stuff. You don't necessarily have to make it full square. However, if you have anything detailed, that should be pretty neat. Okay, something was not welding here, I assume. And we are dealing with this in a neat way. It's turning, so we have to split this apart. Now these are mainly as one shape. There is a little bit of a ridge going on in a normal ear. It's not that visible because it's not that sculpted, but here at the helix it will become an underturn, and you have to separate this interior part from the outer helix part. So we are progressing with the volume. Everything is nice and back as well. So now I'll switch to a separated mode. So I'm progressing forward with this one and pulling this and just creating a kind of a draft the way I want to make it. So I'm drafting it here, drafting from this direction, and maybe this should be the transition. So now we can switch, and oh yeah, that's it. So we can progress from here. And again, correction is much easier in the beginning. So extrude from there, extrude from there. So now we have another point, extrude from here, and progress. So we have now a continuous mesh that's going on. Okay, and then we can grow it inside. Perfect. So let me just drag it here, and move it, and just keep it inside. So that is kind of the cavity. We are plastering the ear. Okay, and move it. Now ears are oftentimes a little bit neglected. However, if you just watch a quality work, it will instantly, you can instantly check if the work is done properly, and you have the cavities and the ears and every other parts done in a nice way as well. Okay, and I'm dragging from here and creating another joint, because this edge, the edge that's running here, it's quite significant, and it creates a fairly sharp shadow. So if we cheat it, it is not making that nice effect in the end. Okay, so we are moving ahead. Oh, excuse me, just grabbing the edge actually. Okay, and we can pull this. We can pull this here, just adding more room. That is correct. Okay. Maybe this is too much of a pull. Alright, and as you see, we're starting from these big size polygons, and we can instantly just switch over and having the smaller size ones. Okay, now it's time to, before I start filling the gaps, now there is a structure for here, and we can work on this side as well. So let me just drag this one, and usually there is a gap going on here, so I'll just drag this out and join in here and reduce the sizing. Okay, so let us check that. Okay, so this one's going there. Here we have a density, so we can just pull these a little bit down. And you don't need to make it perfect right away. So if you see that some lines are not perfectly nice, you don't really have to worry, because it's just too early to make it everything at the final state. So if the flow itself is looking okay, you don't have triangles or anything, it's a fairly clean mesh, and you have a nice topology around the eye and around the mouth most of the times, then you can just toss a few vertices around and see what goes well, what not. Okay, and progressing forward, dragging, and we want to start from here, going up, and start from there, going in that direction. So I'll start from here, going up, and actually I will connect these. So here it is. This is a good chance. Now I'm moving this away. This one will be here, and just extrude. And now we are reaching out from the other direction, and of course we want to keep it on the peak and make sure that this is going well. The welding was off, so just moving it back and running through. Oh yeah, we had this opportunity, and we want to connect here. Connections done. Well, this is how it goes. Again, be careful when you are just moving things around. If you see something is off with the edge, correct it immediately. Don't leave it as it is. If it's suspicious, then there's a high chance that something is off. And again, it's always faster to redo than repair. Okay, especially if you don't have that experience. So later on, I'm sure you will catch up with this, but it takes time. So now I'm just getting over with this one, and okay, that will go around the ear. That will go around the ear. So I will just pull this out and make it work from that direction. Correct, and correct the biggest size. Biggest size, definitely biggest size. Maybe we should weld it here. Why not? And correct. Make some changes, and yes, we will be able to extend from that direction as well. Okay, looks neat. Now the integration is almost there, and then we have to fill the rest. Okay, we may have too many polygons here and there, so if I'm connecting this one to there, we might want to lose this. So I will reduce the polygons, the edges here. So go to edge mode and delete, and let me delete this guy. And just instead of that, we are going to extrude, and extrude it directly and weld it here. And fill this gap up. Where's the point? Small brush size, point grabbing. I'm afraid I have to turn off dynamic and make sure that the point is dragged by a manual. Okay, switching to the move, and if yes, I can grab now the point. Bigger brush size, grab the point and snap it on here. So now this one is one. Okay, we can turn back on dynamic and move the things around. Okay, is it welding properly or not? No, it's still not welding. Okay, let me see what's going on with this. So here's the model. Here's this should weld. Okay, switching back to Topo brush, welding. It snaps now. Okay, perfect. And going back to dynamic and see if we can extrude and weld both. Correct. Here we should consider to remove some, so this will be welded. I will use collapse instead of deleting. So collapsing, this point is collapsing to the other side, this point is collapsing to the other side, and see it for yourself. Make it closer, look for the right angle. Maybe dynamics should be turned off, and then I can just easily pick this up, angle, and there we go. So now dynamic, turn back on, and just move it around, and see it, see the structure. So yes, we are extruding, extrude, and extrude here, and then we are introducing another edge that's running because we have to open this gap around here. So that is extruded along, and there's this gap. So this is how it looks, and then extruding from here. This is naturally welding. Okay, my bad. Going back and pulling it out, and this should be welding somewhere else, like here. Okay, there we go. So now we have this little gap in the back. And should we move? Yes, we should move it a little bit to the back. Okay, so a lot of tiny things moving around. And correcting. There we go. There we go. And we can fill this. Nice. Okay, what else? Should we keep this one? I want to keep this at this resolution. Maybe we can deal with this resolution and we can spread it apart. So we will see. I not necessarily want to delete, but if we have, we can delete as well. And just pull and pull and pull. Okay. So because it's a full retopology, we are checking these as well and not just the fun part. So there's a lot of things going on. And as you see, we are just paying attention and just basically it's time and attention to make it happen. A little bit more gap. Okay, so necessarily usually this is around a spider web, so you're creating this running cross spider webs towards the ear. And there we go. And this whole thing doing well. Okay. And this point should be a little bit behind. And our main goal is to keep and maintain the silhouette. Okay, so don't forget that silhouette is pretty much what we're looking for when we are dealing with ears or anything that's a little bit hanging out. Silhouette. Okay, we're getting there. Sooner or later. There we go. And so finally this one is closed. And let me just use and close it up. And here as well. And I'm using now the light smooth and going back with ProjectAll. So I'm just masking this out. Invert the mask, Ctrl+I, and use ProjectAll to project this thing back. Okay, to make it relatively more accurate. Control drag and clean up some changes and dragging and drag and create the gap. Okay, there we go. And fill, and finally we are there. Okay, so we are just dragging this point, make sure that we have enough, and this point should be somewhere here, and these can be stretched a little bit, and dragging over and pulling this in. Okay, let me start and drag this and weld it. Okay, so there we are. And of course, if we want to a little bit more extend this area, we should go there and make the corrections. Now this one is a little bit off, so let me pull this back, and these are also slightly off. Let me pull this back manually and just look for just eyeballing from all the angles. Yeah, that looks neat. Okay, later on we can shrink it and do the wonders, but right now this is fine. Of course, this will go through here, and with larger polygons, of course, we don't really want to create too tiny polygons too early, so we can go with this one. And yeah, going like well with the gaps. So what else we can do? If we want to reduce some size, we can do a weld like this. So now this is a little bit less intense. Okay, welding from here. And we can weld it as well here. Weld going along, weld it from here. So this is also a quad. Okay, so we are just saving some polygons here and there. Let me drag it in a different direction so it's moving on. And this is welded up, and we can start rotating around with this one. Okay, and extrude the polygons as we're going, but this one should go straight across the neck. Okay, so that would be a decent big size polygon with less of unwanted size. Okay, so there we go. We'll move on from here. Okay, of course, fitting in and filling the gaps and the top part. But before we do that, it is better to complete the ear. Let me just do it. And basically here is nothing special, just filling it, filling the gap that we have, and just maintain a healthy structure. So there we had one. Okay, pulling this through as well, pulling this here, and we should stop somewhere because it will go inside. So start one step and another one, and just moving in and drag it over to fill the gap. And there we are. Okay, this is going well. If in here we can do this kind of a corner change, So the shape now is going in the normal way, normal direction. So here we can make a weld and then just extrude along and maybe extrude it here and extrude here. So now it's turning the shape and reduce the sizing. And now it fills up. So we can save some polygons here and there. Because this will be very dense. So if you don't reduce the number of polygons, this can be really dense. And density is good, but it's not necessarily useful when you have just the ears and nothing crazy is related to it. So that one is welded. Here we should go and weld through and just plastering, just like wallpapering the inside of the cavity. So there we go. Be careful with this. Okay, we want to match these. So that's running across. Yep, dragging over, and there we go. Rotating around, gathering information, how it should go, what to do, what to consider to do with this. And as you see, this, if we have a lower amount of polygons, usually the UV is nicer too. And I will just hook it up here just to reduce the polygon count. And going well. Okay, we want to fill this gap. This one is 2. And yep, doing that. We have a little bit of a double. So this one could be welded, but right now it's not that beneficial. So now I'm running just across, and maybe a little bit of a smoothing and just a simple move. Brush and just dragging and make it snap. So smoothing and just make it snap with a simple brush. So smoothing and make it snap with a simple move. Here we should consider to have less aggressive approach because it's just collapsing. We can turn on ignore backfacing. That can help, but right now I'm just doing a little bit more attention and not just trying to oversimplify things and while messing up other areas. So there we go. We have this fill, move, snap. Okay, the snap was off. Let me just drag it and snap it again. Snap it up, and that one is also welding. Which one looks nice? The shape is coming from this direction, so the polygon flow should be going into the cavity. Which one is, I think it's achieved right now. So let me pull and grab this point up a little bit and just trying to prepare this guy. So I'm just moving this one and filling this gap up, and now it's welded. Okay, rotating around is always helping you to gather information about the 3D volume. Let me undo. This is a by accident made polygon. So yeah, we'll switch to move because it's so tiny. This areas and the whole process of manipulating the polygons will be a lot harder. So trying to switch. If you wish, you can assign a custom hotkey for these brushes, like pressing Control or just number 1, 2, 3. So if you want to look into it, that thing should be considered. And depending on the work you do, you may find yourself that you have some favorite hotkeys, and you are using those favorite hotkeys for, you like to use it. And when you're doing Retopo, your favorite hotkeys could be assigned to Retopo. When you're doing modeling or sculpting, your favorite hotkeys should be assigned for only those. Okay, so it's It's a neat little way to keep and maintain things in a normal manner. So let me go back with Topo move and move this guy out of the equation and gain some distance, because we want to gap this and we want to jump this gap through, and also snapping back. See, yep, going there, and I'm pulling and I'm trying to make it weld right away. Okay, and this one's welding. This one is welding, and we can generate this one and weld it there, and we have a cross, so welding, and there's a triangle in here. Which one we can, I guess we can remove it somehow, but I'm not really worried about this having a triangle in the middle of the ear, so I'll just simply gap it, and there we go. So here we are. Okay, now this is quite accurate. So if you go to solo mode, this is how it looks. So the silhouette itself is really going well. As you see, there's plenty of room. We don't disturb in the rhythm of the face is working fine, because when you watch it from below, usually the face is it's a common issue that the width of the face is here's the widest, and then the ear is sitting in a little bit of a recess, and then the head is just turning back. Okay, so that's the dynamic. If the ear is sitting on the face, it will be off. The ear is sitting behind the maxilla, behind the mandible, and not on the widest point of the head. It's already started to slope back, and we have some room. That's because we are protecting the ears evolutionary. So that is a protection. Let me go with the solo and check how we can progress forward with the rest of it. So I'm just dragging now, and yeah, we can just move it and drag and use the Alt key and try to give it a good way, and drag and try to give it this way. And yes, we want to weld a few things just soon. So weld these can help us. Yep, really, but we have to weld this one first. Okay, so that weldment is working fine. Move and just try to keep it on the surface, but also stretching out. We want to make it a nice straight line. Okay, so this should be on the top of the head. So I'm pulling this out, pulling these, just to make it a nice and clean straight top. There we go. And like this. Okay, so these polygons are now a little bit stretched, and we are not that worried because we know we can manage it. But before we do it, we have to reorient the stuff. So there we go, and want to make it vertical. So this is the middle line. This should go like straight up. We should go straight up. I'm going to the top view, and yeah, we want to make it nice and smooth, going from the top. Okay, let me see it. It's going from the top. Perfect. Here we have a straight line that goes to the bottom. We have the front. Okay, correct. Now, to reduce the polygon count and remove these stretched polygons, we will use the same technique that we used with the chin, and the sooner the better. So using Topo brush and using the edge function of collapse, and a little bit less size, and you don't want to do it in the middle. Okay, so stay away from the line of symmetry when you're doing these reduction type of welds. So this point is welded up, this point is welded there, so that welded. Okay, there we are. Now we don't want to go any further because we don't want to run into the hairline. So I'm going to go with the simple delete function. So delete this, and now we are switching back to the move brush and just relax these things around, and just move them, relax a little bit and just move them, and here just move. You can see how this is fairly neat. These are large polygons. We are saving a lot of resource, and move around. Okay, just by using these splits on the hairline. Okay, if you consider that the hairline is somewhere else, or a little bit higher, a little bit lower, you can play with those. You can actually just pull this a little bit higher up, and yeah, you have these a little bit stretch polygons. If you're worried about this, you can insert another edge loop and cut through here. So in our case, it's absolutely manageable because we have more in here in this area. But right now, this is fairly nice. Here, there is an issue, as typical, when we have so many things going on. Symmetry was breaking. And again, I'm pulling over fully, and then going back to geometry and mirror and weld. And if it was not over enough, we should take this and pull this and use mirror and weld, and now it's going back in the right track. Okay, you should also pay attention to check areas individually, but that's how it goes. All right, so going back, now we have this change. We have basically one edge. When you see this, in theory, you can select one edge. That's a loop that's going, and that loop could be split into two parts, or actually three edges. And if you remove the middle one, you can end up flowing with three edges in the line. So that is the trickery there. And because this is usually going up and these polygons are fairly stretched, this will not go too much down, so the distortion should be okay. Now moving back and completing the rest is, let me switch to the tool that I'm using correctly, Extrude. So the tool is the Retopo tool, standard Retopo tool. Pulling this out, make sure that this one is welding, and yeah, we have to be careful. Okay, I forgot to turn on symmetry, so don't hurry. Yes, yeah, symmetry is on, and it's not just like this. Oh, forgot to turn on symmetry. We have symmetry on. Why is it not creating the model symmetrical? Oh yeah, there is a gap issue, I guess. So where's this gap issue? Let me switch to move and check this out. See where thing is broken. Continuity of the mesh may fail. So let me go back with the ZModeler and just simply using it, and now it works. Okay, perfect. So we're going back. If you experience anything like this, don't worry. Just go back, look for the right spot to fix, and then you should be okay. And yes, because we have now different ISOs, we can switch between multiple modes. But in our case, it's enough if we are just creating a simple one. And maybe I have used too much undos. Oh yeah, I'm starting from here and then using this. Okay, so it's better if I'm starting from here and then make the welds. Give it a try to extrude from here and see if this, the continuity is off. Oh yeah, this is silly, but extrusion is not working for now. This is working from here. Oh yeah. If I'm working from here, what happens? This is looking nice. Okay, correct. Now, making the changes and reducing the numbers and just simply welding these parts together. And we have the fill. And the ear is one of the hardest parts in here, but it's already done. So we are just basically creating a rough back part. So we'll use a huge Topo move brush and just pull these. Try to maintain somewhat squarish look, and I'm just operating this. So smooth it out, move it. Here, this should be sorted out where it was broken. Here it was broken, so I'll just move it. Yeah, this is off. Okay, I want to fix it. Turning off dynamics and checking from top and use mirror and weld and see if it is okay. Symmetry is on. Let me go back and give it a try to use dynamic again and just move things around and use the smooth key. And now it's better. Okay, so I had some issue along, and the top parts are fairly stretched, but it's looking promising. And what else should we use? We can actually use the deformations, so I would just go to solo mode, paint an area I want to smooth out, and invert, and going back in here and use the deformation and use the crisp edges. So that's a little bit of a different type of polishing. And as you see, because we have the masking on, we can use this technique to clean up parts. Okay, let me drag and go to solo mode and turning back on dynamic and clean up basically and progress forward with the rest. Now we can make it as a circular pattern, or we can progress forward here. I will start and move along with the top of the head. So I'm dragging and dragging, and even if with this thickness it will not, the thickness should be a little bit higher now because we can't really see. Once we have larger polygons, usually the thickness should be higher. So this is the purpose I have it on at hand, because we're adjusting it so many times, the thickness and the subdivisions and everything basically. So we can just move things around and pull this. And of course we don't need these many polygons in here, so I will create a bunch and then just simply weld them. Okay, so we don't necessarily have to keep them all the time. So here again, this is under the hair. Ctrl+X, dynamic is chosen, so, and we are choosing the collapse function. Let me reduce the thickness a little bit because it's on the side, and this one should weld down, and this one should weld down, this one should weld down, and this one's well, and maybe this one up, this one's up, this one's up, this one's up. There we go. Okay, my bad. Alright, what's going on? Let me go in solo mode and see it for myself. Here maybe we have a gap, so let me move this. And this one, no, not good. Well, we shouldn't go forward, which was sort of stopping. Now just simply deleting this particular edge. reducing the size. Again, we are switching back to extrusion. That's a default for this brush, smoothing out some parts, and we can just move around things or using the the Topo move now. But be careful because it's not snapping if you don't see the mesh, so be careful with that. When you are in solo mode, these functions are not working. So I mean, the function of snap to surface is not working. Projection is working, but this one is not. So let me go with solo mode and just move this thing around, and everything is catching up. And I see some edge errors around here, so I'll just use a small size brush and try to fix that edge error if there's any. You can see edge errors when you have, or welding errors when you have edges that are showing like a double size. Okay, so we can just move things around, make it more relaxed, more even. Okay, so these polygons stretched out, but basically we don't really have to worry about these that much or at all, because there's not much deformation going on. And again, we can always use the relax functions on here. Okay, so it's going well. We should progress more with this. Okay, it's big polygons, big size, stretching on here. Okay, moving. Going back with the topology brush, extend. Again, keeping it at the center. Make sure it's working fine. Running and welding in all manner. Oh yes, this one's a little bit off. So let me just turn off dynamic and see it for myself. And with a smaller brush size, maybe I can catch it. Oh no, it's extruding. Let me go solo mode. And now it's welding back. Perfect. Okay, leave solo mode. There's a function called tap to solo. So if you go to preferences and it's in utilities, I guess. No, where are you? Solo mode. I wanted to show it, so miscellaneous. Edit. Allow click to solo. Yeah, there we are. So when you click away, you can go to solo mode, and this helps a lot. And it can also speed up the process. So again, this is click to solo. All right, going back in here. And yeah, we have this large portion. Okay, there we go. So uniformly distribute the polygons. Just a rough, basically, because again, what we want to use, what we can use, is simply masking out the area. Let me go to solo, masking out the area. Want to clean up. And make sure nothing else is touched in here. And just going to these are used quite frequently, so the colorize function could be, we can tailor some things. Before I do that, let me just drop in here a subtool projection and maybe the color. This is because by default you have geometry on, but color is not necessarily a thing that you want to do, so it's a good idea to have it off. But if you want to pick up color from something existing, that you can use it for sure. Okay, and we can also introduce some UI elements. So if you want to add some more space between parts, you can drop it. And when you turn off enable customize, we have a little bit of a neat gap. So that's a kind of a feature that's helping us to make it a clean part, and yeah, this is the first decimation, and this is a creation part. Split on mask points, maybe it should be higher up here. We have the brushes, we have dynamic and project and color, and we can also use the deformation stuff. So let me go in here and add one more at the top, because this project and color should go hand in hand with deformation polish features. So that's a neat little thing to have. And change the order and polish by crisp groups and crisp edges. So polish by groups and crisp edges, and that's neat. Okay, let me push the polish on top. Okay, and when we are dealing with this, now it's a little bit more neat. Of course, this consumes more space, but sometimes it's easier to pick on things. The other thing is, for example, the initialization, maybe not really your thing. So what you can do is we can go to preferences, create custom subpalettes. So let me just drag and enable customize and custom subpalette, and drag and drop it on here on the menu, and it will drop it on the bottom. Now you can't rename it until you have something in it, and we can drag and drop preprocess current. We can drag and drop this, everything that's coming with this, everything basically what we have for creating and starting out the retopology. Percentage should be somewhere here. We have the brush, we have the mirror function if we need, split on mask points, and we don't need this spacer anymore. So let me just drag and drop it here and rename it to tools to start, and enable customize. And when you're using Ctrl+X, it will bring up this whole set with all the different features. All right, and let me just Ctrl+Shift+I, save it, master configuration, and I have prepared the rest of the file here just to because it's already fairly long as a video. So let me just go through here, and we have now built up this back, and as you see, some corrections are made to make it fit. So let me just move it on, and now that was here, I've used some smoothing, for example, like here in the polish, and that's bring up the things, and then just progressing over the next. So let me walk through here, and this is the side. So we have a patch at the front, we have the back part, and then just extruding it along and working that way. All right, so let me just move it here, and then fixing the whole model. Okay, so that's how it goes. All right, so thank you very much. Let me leave solo mode. So that is the model what we're looking for. This could be used in other projects as well. This is not exactly a perfect match for sculpting, but if you want to sculpt with high resolution and some details here and still maintain a good polygon count, in the end you can use it for that as well. But for in general sculpting, ZRemesher can do a good job. But for animation and UV and furthermore usages, it is better if we're just using a manual Retopo. Alright, thank you very much for your attention and have a good time. See you next time. Goodbye.